All right, guys, welcome to Powerline Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Ryan Lucas. If this is your first time here, thank you. Welcome. Hope you get some value out of these episodes. I'm glad you found Powerline Podcast. I've had this community going now for a little over 4 years, so welcome, enjoy. If you're a long-time listener, long-time follower, appreciate you guys. Okay, this episode is a little different. We're not doing one solid interview. Recently had a few guests have to bail on their interview for various reasons, all legit. I'm gonna have these guys and girls come back on the show soon. Already rescheduled most of them, but I was thinking about what to get out to you guys for the next week. So I thought, okay, let's take the last 5 to 7 guests and we'll go in and take a clip to 2 clips from each of those guests. And we'll just play those clips. I'll intro them. I'll maybe talk in depth a little bit more about some more thoughts and ideas I had on those clips. So that's what we'll do. Plus, this might give you the opportunity, if you haven't listened to all of these episodes, give you a little flavor of who these guests are. And maybe you want to go back and listen to some of those, like listen to the full episode of these individuals. So we'll link all those episodes if you're watching on YouTube. If you were listening on Spotify or Apple, I'll have those in the show notes, in the descriptions. So yeah, let's jump right into it. All right, this first clip is, his name is John Goodson. I met John on TikTok of all places. Love social media for this reason. It's connected me with so many amazing people, so many line workers. So John Goodson, found him on TikTok. He goes by the name Goody. So yeah, look him up on TikTok if you haven't already. If you're on TikTok, there's a good chance if you're a lineman and you're on TikTok, you follow this guy already. Amazing old boy from Oklahoma, I believe. We had a great conversation. He got in depth on a few of these subjects, and one of the subjects that I particularly liked was the subject around mental health. So we're going to play this clip on mental health that I think he just does such a good job. It's a bit of a longer clip. It's about 5 minutes long, and he does such a good job providing value within this clip that I'm not going to speak to it a whole lot, but let's just get right into this one. Have a listen.
Well, you can have all the college education you need, and you still got to have somebody working in the sewer industry or somebody jacking phases or something. You got to have it.
Yeah,
I just think it should be promoted more.
It takes, you're 100% right. It takes quality hands to make sure the infrastructure is built and maintained in the country, and it doesn't just happen, right? Like there's people building this, and I think what's unfortunate for the blue collar individual is that they tend to not get educated enough in like how to like work their finances and like all those like little things. So they end up looking broke in the end, or end up broke in the end. And I think a little more education on that side of things, like how to run your finances, how to do, looking after your mental health, things like that are
mental health's a big issue,
right? We'll talk about
that's a big issue. There's a lot of guys out there dealing with just a weight that you can't imagine, and they're dealing with it alone. Nobody wants to talk about their problems.
And it's this.
It should be expressed more, because I've been to more funerals than the first of this year from suicide than I ever should have. And something's got to change about that. This needs to be highlighted more.
What do you think? What's a way that you would change it? What's something that somebody could do?
Man, I don't know. All the shit that I deal with it's my own issue, and that's the way it is for everybody. I don't think there's anything that anybody can do other than just let someone know that, you ain't there alone. All you got to do is talk about it. No matter what it is, just let somebody know what you're going through. And the moment that happens, it's a weight comes off of you. You know what I mean? You're not bearing it alone no more. You got somebody to carry the load with you. And that makes a big difference, I think. That's what a lot of guys ain't doing. They don't talk, and we should talk more.
I think so often, a guy comes to work with a burden that he's carrying, and he comes to work and he goes, okay, I don't bring my shit to work. They'll say that to themselves or other people. I don't bring this to work. I just want to go to work and keep my head clear and do my job. And it's like the only place that they can go to, not have to think about the problem, but the problem is still there. And I think
it never goes.
More often than not, like we talked briefly about brotherhood and camaraderie within the trades, like those are the people that you should be talking to. Like this is your family, right?
Exactly.
If you got an issue, you should be able to bring it up at work to the people you care about, and get some help, get it off your chest or whatever. Maybe find some help that way instead of holding it and pushing it down. I don't know. That's what I've seen over the year.
Yeah, if you're on a line crew, especially on hitch work, you spend more time with them than you do your family at home.
True story.
And you experience everything with them. So there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to talk about everything with them as well. But I get it. Some guys ain't like that. They don't want to, they don't want to be a bleeding heart or whatever, or lay their problems on somebody. But after a certain point, it gets serious. You know what I mean? Once a person starts thinking they're the issue and nothing they can ever do will make things better, that's when it starts getting dangerous. Because then they receive an option, well, maybe me not being here no more is the best solution. Nobody wants that.
All right, like I said, he talks about provides so much good value in that clip. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I really highly suggest you go back and listen to John's episode for the full context around everything he's talking about. This next clip is also by John. I labeled it the hardest thing to do. Let's just watch this.
That was one of the hardest things I ever learned how to do, was let somebody else set a pole without me telling them what to do. And I know that don't sound like a lot, but for me to take on a hand, and he's my guy now, he's my foreman or whatever, and to watch him do this his way and me not step in was absolutely one of the most hardest things I've ever done in my life. It was just like, I'm over there flinging my pub ball around like a lasso, just trying to keep from getting in it, and they did it. They got the pole set, went on about their way, and nobody got hurt, and it was done quickly. And once I figured out that, hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat. It may not be the fastest way like mine, but they're skinning it. So
I think it's super important to give your team the opportunity to make their own decisions. Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL, he talks about this as decentralized command. So it's giving your leaders below you, your leadership, or just anybody below you, giving them a task and then being hands-off almost. Hands-off, but like sitting back from a distance. So like giving them the opportunity to succeed or fail, but letting them do that. But I also like this thing of not just giving them the task and then watching them fail. It's coaching them through it, but doing it from a different way. Like you often see this in line work where, especially linemen, there's so much ego wrapped up in the work that they do, and just like, this way is the only way. I've seen it and done this for 30 years like this. There's no other way to do it. This is the way we're doing it. But the way to actually bring up the people behind you is to give them the opportunity to make their own decisions, to try different things that they want to try. And who knows, maybe you find a better way to do it. But you need to be open as a leader and allow that to happen, and stand back and be a little decentralized, operate from a decentralized perspective. Stand back, be involved, coach them through it. Don't just let them fail and watch them hurt themselves or something like that. That's not going to be healthy. Provide tips, provide coaching, provide feedback, but also provide opportunity to do it. Don't be that helicopter parent in the situation. I think that's what John was talking about in this clip. That's why I put it in there. I really liked it. Another thing I wanted to add to that was that we really need to get back to that apprentice-master relationship within the trade. it is a trade. Line work's a trade. It's a skilled trade. It's craft labor. It takes learning on the job in order to do it. You don't just like go to school and learn line work. Very small portion of it is actually learned in school. It's learned on the job. But we're kind of losing that here son, like come up under my wing and let me show you how to do this. So there's various reasons why we're losing it. I think there's things like the natural transient of the job. At such a transient job, meaning like, hey, I'm on this one job today, tomorrow I'm off to something, I'm dragging and I'm off to something else. And that's fine, but that's fine to do that. But it doesn't provide that opportunity to really take an apprentice under your wing and coach them and show them and really like help them be that master, be that coach that really brings them under your wing and shows them the ropes. And the more that we can do that, even in small ways, even if you're with that apprentice for a week, a day, a month, maybe you got them for a year, but really try to coach them and show them everything that you've learned that's made you the best that you think that you can be. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. I think that's kind of what John's getting at in that clip. Okay, this next guy is Dean Bell. Dean has been a longtime friend. I've worked with Dean in the past. Great guy. Had so many good times with him on the job. Had the opportunity to interview him recently. It was a fantastic episode. Again, I suggest you go and listen to all these episodes. But if you like Dean, here's a clip. I called it the craziest thing you've ever seen on the job. Let's watch this, and there's a couple things I want to talk about with this clip. What is the craziest thing you've ever seen on the job?
Well, unfortunately, at contact with 345, a knuckle contact.
Right.
So
yeah,
that was pretty crazy.
What was the lesson learned from that?
Yeah, that was just a mistake on a simple mistake. People not paying attention, really. On multiple, the guys in the bucket, safety watch. The safety guy was actually, chatting somebody's ear off that, should have been watching. But respect for the procedures that we have in place. No one got hurt, and that's because we had our barricades. We had our procedures in place. That's why we do it. That's why we follow the rules. That's why we have these things set up, because in case it does happen, and it will, everyone's okay. You want to talk about blue flame flying everywhere underneath the bucket truck? Holy shit, right? It was incredible. And, if we didn't have those barriers and these procedures in place, someone could have been up against the truck and, they're smoked.
I've been put in a couple of situations in life where they were like, those like temperature rise kind of situations where it's like, you find out how you handle things in life because they're high pressure situations. How did you handle the high pressure situation? Did you remain calm and kind of work your way through it, or?
Yeah, I did. Now, in that instance, this is a pretty serious, obviously, incident that had occurred. The repercussions were, loss of contract, possibly, guys losing their certs, foremen being kicked off the projects, etc. Right? There's a lot of consequences that are unfolding, right? And there were some guys that were laughing and kidding about this. We'd all the job got shut down, and we're kind of sitting there digesting what had happened. And there's some guys chatting and laughing about it, and that pissed me off so much. I turned around and yelled at them. I said, what do you think is goddamn funny about this? I said, there is nothing that is funny. Like, you need to be thinking about what's just happened and looking around. Someone could have flipped and died right here, right? Some of these guys are probably going to lose their jobs, right? You need to just, I let loose on him, and I went back a little while later and I apologized, and you know, they told me, like, no, you're right, you know, this is a serious situation, right? We shouldn't have been goofing off, right?
So one of the things that I really enjoyed, really liked about the energized bare hand world and living in that world was how we went about creating processes and procedures. They're very detailed. You had to be incredibly detailed, a step-by-step layout of exactly how you and your crew were going to perform the work. You had to have a tailgate meeting, whatever that looks like, pre-job meeting, and lay out all of those steps. And everybody on the crew had to understand each of those steps. They were given the opportunity to object to them or add input. But like, once you all adhered and understood those steps and signed off on those steps, you could then go to work. And if there was any changes, like any changes at all, minor or big, it was almost like a stop work. You stopped work, you made sure everybody on the crew understood the change that you were going to make. Then you even signed off on that change. You rewrote it. You left room in the description for changes, and you'd rewrite that step or add a step or subtract a step. You would all sign off on it, and then you'd proceed. There was no like making decisions just on a whim, on the fly as one person. I really like that. And I understand that that's probably not possible for everyday distribution work because there are so many tasks and so many things going on. That's more the energized transmission bare hand side of things. But there's lots of that you can take and apply to your everyday job on distribution or in substation or something like that. I just like I like that. Like, let's stop for 2 minutes. Let's make sure everybody on the crew understands what's going on, what the change is. Let's sign off on it together and let's go to work. And that whole process might only take 5 minutes, but I think it can really help safety wise. It can really help prevent a lot of incidences and just help you get the job done smoother and better. And as you can tell from that clip from Dean, there were some of those steps that were missed, you know, safety watching, maybe not paying attention, things like that got them in a bind, and they had an incident, ended up, you know, resulting in one of the craziest things that he's ever seen. So yeah, that's what I gotta say about that. Okay, Aaron LeBlanc hails from the east coast of Canada. Really interesting dude. Really well spoken. It's probably because he's probably really well spoken because he's well practiced. He runs probably the most famous, if you want to call it famous, quote unquote famous YouTube channel for linemen on YouTube. It's called Bob's Decline. So I'd suggest you go watch some of Aaron's content on Bob's Decline. Where he goes around as a trouble troubleman operator, and he vlogs his experiences on the trouble truck. Lots of value in his episodes. Like I said, well-spoken guy. Really enjoyed talking to him. So here's a clip of him talking about like what motivates him. Really like this one. Let's get into it and then we'll talk about it after. What keeps you motivated to keep doing it?
The biggest thing that keeps me motivated, that for sure, because my community as a whole. I'm going to tell you another quick story. So
absolutely,
I was at a guy's house. I was changing a meter, and we have the smart meters coming in, so a lot of people are skeptical of it. And the guy came out. He was a big fella, and I told him I had to change the meter, but it was an old A base, so I had to take the adapter off. There was a little bit of work that had to be done. And he started questioning me about the meter. And then he just stopped. Mid-sentence, he just stopped. He said, "Is your name Aaron?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "I'm sorry, Aaron." He says, "Carry on," and went back in the house. It's like, oh, that was weird. So then he come back out with the coffee and he just sat there and started chatting. And I said, "Well, what was that all about?" He goes, "Oh, no, everyone knows here that if Aaron comes by, just let you do your work. You're going to do your best, help everyone out." And so it's helped me earn the trust of the community. And they'll back us up, even our company now. If somebody goes online and starts saying during a storm, like, oh, when's our power going to be back on? You'll see 99% of people say these guys are out working their butts off, and it's really helped our community have our back. So that's what keeps me going a lot. The other thing that keeps me going is I get private messages from people all over the world, literally every country in the world. The ones that are really cool are guys that say, geez, I never messaged you, but back in 2019, I started watching your videos and I worked in such and such trade. And after seeing a few videos, I wanted to do that. Fast forward 3 years later, I'm in my second block apprenticeship and it's the best decision I ever made. And it's all because of watching your videos. When I see stuff like that, that's super cool.
Yeah. The importance of community is massive. The community that I've helped or I've been able to grow even just with this podcast has introduced me to people all over the world. I have some of the best friendships I've ever had because of this community, because of what we do with Powerline Podcast and in the Powerline community. So if you just pare that right down to even what you do day to day on a crew, building relationships with those around you, like this is a job that you're potentially going to do the rest of your life. Like you're going to do this 30, 40 years potentially. It's important to like invest in each and every relationship because you spend so much time with these people. So that's what I really liked about what Aaron had to say there. I've been able to help people. I've been able to help people through the community as well. And through building this network, building this community, being able to do things like introduce veterans to line work, help get them into the job, into the trade, into various programs like the VEEP program, the Veteran Electrical Entry Program, helps get them in the trade. I've been able to instruct them at some of the best line schools in North America, help instruct them there, and then see them out as an apprentice, see them out on the job, and now even seeing them as journeyman linemen out there is so rewarding. And that's not just for veterans, that's for regular men and women as well. That I had one kid reach out to me, 15 years old, was just sitting on his bed one evening scrolling TikTok, saw the lineman page that we had, Powerline Podcast page on TikTok, and was like, hey, I had no idea this job exists. I'm 15. This looks so cool. I don't want to go to school the rest of my life. Like, how do I get into this? I was able to help him get into that. Fast forward a couple years, he's in the trade now. So super cool. Community is very important. And you need to pay attention to it. It's super, super cool. All right, this next clip is from Jarrett Warren. Also worked with Jarrett in the past. Fantastic dude. Some recent events within the trade and within his own life kind of has put him down a bit of a path of wanting to talk about mental health. Again, huge subject. I was super happy about Jarrett reaching out to talk about this because I've been bringing it up a lot in these podcasts lately. And so 2 clips from Jarrett. The first one is lighter. It's just about his experiences in distribution and transmission, the differences between the two. But I thought there was some value in that. And the second clip is about mental health being a silent killer. So let's listen to these 2 clips and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. What aspects of the trade did you find yourself liking the most or getting into and doing? Did you like both, like distro, transmission? Like what did you get to do and experience now that you're a lineman?
I used to joke that I used to like to stay in distro long enough till I complained a ton of jacks too heavy, and then I'd go to transmission.
They get tossed to 6 ton.
Yeah, then you're like, hey, now you got to complain, right? But I enjoy both because then you just keep your mind sharp on. But then you find like when you go back to transmission, if the guy's been transmission for your time you've been gone, their rigging is just phenomenal, right? They're like, so then it's fun to go back and learn from those guys because they just picked up a couple moves or some of those guys know their rigging like crazy, and it's just fun to.
Right. Did you find that you were able to that's actually kind of cool because when I think about Adam especially or whatever, he's so dialed on his system of doing things.
Yeah.
So awesome to be in a clique with people like that where you can just get brought upstairs and jump right in on what they're doing, but have that bird's eye view and get and kind of retaught how to do everything.
Yeah, they're like in shape, flying up a tower. You just came back from district.
Yeah.
And give me a minute, Matt.
Yeah, totally.
If you're struggling, right? No, it's fun because it was really a good way to. Then you go back to distro, and then the boys are like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then you tell them all the crazy things you're into, and then
you're grabbing jacks, they're grabbing strap jacks, and roadblocks.
Yeah.
What do you need that for?
Yeah, no, it's fun balance, right? You get to, like I said, you get to use different sides of of the Powerline trade. One's more rigging based and work. Well, they're both work.
Yeah.
It's really kind of transmission's a lot more repetitive.
It's very neat to get stuck in, or not stuck in, but put in the different aspects of transmission. I always thought each portion of it, whether you're on the stringing portion or whether you're setting up for that or setting, or you get stuck on dead ends for a while, so cool to see each piece of that, how each piece of it is very intricate in itself. You get put up on a dead end crew and it gets repetitive, like you said. It's okay, same thing again and again, but also very detailed what you're doing.
Yeah.
Very a lot amount of skill goes into figuring all that out and doing that type of work.
Yeah, especially it's fun being a part of, even when you go from as much as doing footings and stuff is kind of monotonous and the linemen don't really like doing it. It's kind of nice when you get going through there and you start thinking is this going to be a puller side or tension side, or you know what I mean, when you're driving by.
Yeah. And
you start kind of thinking that way, and it's nice in transmission because you could be very diversified on one project.
Yeah.
Right from the footings to erecting to wire, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be where the wire is, but it's usually where all the stress comes and all that kind of shenanigans, and it's usually high pace, and it's usually a different animal.
Why do some people make this decision to go seek therapy or seek help, and others just feel so far down the rabbit hole that it seems like there's no other choice?
I don't know if we could ever understand it. It's just like electricity. It's a silent killer. So is a mental health thing, right? You can't see it, but it's there, and we all have it. And some guys have more success with being who they are and becoming and being the dual lineman and father, or dual, partner.
Yeah.
I just find we're so good at working with electricity and we can't see it. We just really suck at working with our emotions and our mental health and stuff we can't see. I know I can speak for myself. I suck at that. And I let that beat me up.
I got so much good feedback from this episode. It was deep, it was a bit heavy, but it's literally a subject that we need to talk about more. So I highly recommend you just go back and listen to Jarrett's full episode. It was great. I just want to say a couple things, that there are so many programs available for all levels of the shit you're dealing with, whether it's in your head or in your life or whatever. There's counselors, there's therapists, there's the guys and girls on the crew that you're around, your friends, your family. There's somebody out there that will help. Reach out for help if you need it. There are hundreds of programs through the place you work, through your union hall, just through the government. There is help. Please seek help. All right, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Couple other things I just wanted to share, a little lighter on this topic. Some things you can start to do to really help improve your mental health is make time for yourself. We work really, really hard as linemen, and we bust our asses as linemen. We give hundreds of thousands of hours to the job, and we buy nice toys that often sit in the driveway at home or sit in the garage and don't get used. I really, really encourage you. Start making time for yourself. Start making time to use those things. Start trying to work that into your life when you are at home, to get out and do those things that you enjoy to do, Because if you don't look after yourself, I know that sounds selfish, but if you don't look after yourself first, there's no way you can show up for anybody else properly and effectively. Whether that's another person that's struggling or whether that's just showing up for them on the job, at work, putting in 100%, you're not going to be there mentally and physically if you're not doing what you need to do for yourself first. This next guy is a health and fitness professional. He's got a few other titles under his belt, real estate investor, things like that. But one of the main reasons I had Joe Legovan on the show was to talk about health, fitness, mental health, that sort of stuff. So couple clips here. I really enjoyed these clips. The whole episode was solid. So suggest again that you go back and listen to this whole episode. But let's jump into these clips and we'll talk about these ones.
The hero's journey is doing something they don't want to do for a higher purpose. And a lot of us, we feel like we're not heroes because we're not living a hero's journey. We're letting ourselves go down the easy path over and over. We wonder why we have negative self-confidence, right? Like, I can go in the mirror and tell myself I love myself a million times, but if I'm not doing the things I know I should be doing, my subconscious mind's not going to believe it. The subconscious mind will only allow you to take the identity that it knows your habits are actually producing. If our habits are not producing the identity that we truly believe, we can't lie to ourselves. We can pretend like we love ourselves, but if we're not living it, we're lying to ourselves, and the subconscious mind picks all that up. So if we don't feel confident in ourselves, we don't feel love for ourselves, look at your habits, look at your daily rituals. Are you doing the hard thing when it's not, are you pushing your limits? Are you pushing past your body and saying, hey, today it's not about this. Today I'm actually go hard and I'm going to give it my all. And that to me is like the whole hero's journey. That's what we're looking for in this life. We're looking for that hero's journey. We're looking for that purpose, and it's right at your fingertips. It's not out there somewhere. It's not out on some mission. It's you waking up and doing those habits every day. You know, nobody's watching, no cameras on you, and you don't realize that, hey, these are actually impacting everybody around me and impacting people I don't even know. So getting out of your head that thinking comfort is happiness and taking that down and saying, you know what, I don't need comfort today. Today I'm going to go after my freaking purpose and be a man, right? Step up and go after that and give you those goosebumps and wake up and be like, yeah, it's hard to wake up early, but guess what? I'm going to do it. Yeah, it's hard to work out, but guess what? I'm going to do it. It's hard to count my macros and diet and try to get ripped and be in a calorie deficit, but guess what? I'm going to do it. Because you look back at every spiritual person who's ever had any connection with a higher self, what did they do? They fasted. And here we are eating to our fulfillment every single day, and we wonder why we have no spiritual connection. It's like fast a little bit, get in a calorie deficit, get in an ice bath and watch how your mindset shifts and watch how you start to feel purpose again.
So there's this quote that I absolutely love. It's by Joseph Campbell. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Let's talk about this for a second. Joe talked about the hero's journey. So the hero's journey is a narrative pattern commonly found in myths, legends, and storytelling. It follows a protagonist who embarks on a transformative adventure, facing various challenges and trials, ultimately returning home as a changed individual armed with a newfound wisdom and ability. So that's just straight definition of the hero's journey. Let's just talk about the steps quickly. I don't want to go in horrendous detail on the hero's journey. The hero's journey is super intriguing to me. I feel like I've gone through this pattern, this cycle a few times in my life, and I very much relate to it. And I think that if you really think about it this way and you get into understanding the hero's journey, you'll understand maybe you've gone through this cycle a few times yourself, or maybe you're in the middle of it right now and in one of these stages, and this could help you cross that threshold into the next stage. So I'm just going to list the steps. There's 12 steps, traditionally 12 steps in this hero's journey. So let's just list them. We'll give a little brief definition of them. So number 1 is the ordinary world. The hero's initial state before the adventure begins. Number 2 is the call to adventure. The hero receives a challenge or opportunity to embark on a quest. Number 3, refusal of the call. The hero hesitates or initially rejects the call due to fear or doubt. And I really relate with that one because I think a lot of us like get stuck at that number 3 where we doubt ourselves, we fear what's next, so we refuse that call to action. So number 4, we meet the mentor. The hero encounters a wise figure who provides guidance or assistance. And I love this quote that kind of fits in nicely with that is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So if you make ready yourself, and if you are ready to embark and cross that threshold and meet your mentor, you'll find that they'll disappear. And these mentors don't have to be like, this is what I found too, like a mentor doesn't have to be somebody in the physical form. Maybe they're physical, but maybe they're just somebody you've never met, but you follow them online, you follow their teachings. So that the mentor doesn't necessarily have to be in the physical form. Maybe they are in the physical form, but maybe you never met them before. Maybe there's somebody that you follow online or you've read their books, or they really help mentor you through something, but you haven't met them yet. So meeting the mentor is number 4. Number 5 is crossing the threshold. The hero leaves the familiar world and enters the unknown. Think of how many times that you've maybe done this in your life. You've said, screw it, I'm going to do it, let's go. And you've crossed that threshold. You've left home, you've gone to school, you've embarked on this journey, not knowing how it's going to turn out. That's what they're talking about here. Number 6, tests, allies, and enemies. The hero faces challenges, meets allies, and confronts adversaries. Number 7, approach to the inmost cave. The hero moves closer to the central conflict or their ultimate goal. Number 8 is the ordeal. The hero endures a major test or crisis that pushes them to their limits. The reward is number 9. The hero achieves a significant breakthrough, gains the treasure, or acquires the knowledge. Maybe this is like your line work career. Maybe it was super challenging to take that step and go out and do this thing that you weren't sure how it was going to work out, and really push to get the job. And then you got the job and you got the apprenticeship and you made it through. You collected for, all of that whole journey through that this is exactly what that is. Or maybe it's other things in your life. Number 10 is the road back. The hero begins the journey back to the ordinary world. 11 is the resurrection. The hero experiences a final and most significant ordeal, often a life or death struggle. And this doesn't necessarily mean actual physical life or death. This could be just like emotional or like something else happening, but it's that sort of like significance. And then 12, finally, number 12 is you return with the elixir, which is the hero returns home transformed, bringing back newfound wisdom or boon or benefit to their community, brings that elixir back to their community, which, for myself, if I relate it to line work specific, it's going through this whole thing of going into line work. And, I've done it in many stages where I started this podcast. I wasn't sure if that was going to work out. And I took steps to do that, crossed that threshold, found tests, allies, enemies, gone through all of these stages. And now I'm able to really give back to the community that's been built from it. So there's an example of it. There's other examples. Just like if you need a couple more examples, you can literally Google this. I Googled it. The two examples they gave me were obviously ones like Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, classic example there. Lord of the Rings, another one. But if you want to learn more about this, there's a bunch of TED Talks on it, things like that. I highly suggest you just have a look at it for a minute because it's super cool. And if you think about your life in the terms of the hero's journey, you might see yourself in here somewhere. Super cool. One other thing that Joe touched on was that second clip where he talked about comfort isn't happiness. Definitely want to nail on that. As linemen, I know that we step out of our comfort zone all the time, but there was a great reminder that it's good to be uncomfortable. It benefits us in the end, and comfort really is the killer of humans. Daniel Spencer has an incredible story of perseverance, strength, all of these things. Highly recommend Daniel's episode. Let's listen to these 2 clips from him. We'll talk about it a little bit.
I get up every morning, I make my side of the bed, I read, I journal, I eat something healthy. That's 4 or 5 wins already for myself. You know, instead of getting up in the morning, hitting the snooze, dreading that you're gonna have to go to work, all day you're at work thinking, man, I gotta go to the gym at 6. And I don't know what to eat. I gotta go to the gym at 6 still. Then you talk yourself out of it. We kill all that, man. You know, we get up in the morning and the first thing you're gonna do is take care of yourself. Take care of your mind, take care of your nutrition, right into a workout. You've already knocked the hardest part of your day out, you know, self-care. Everything else is for everyone else, man. Everything I do after I take care of myself in the morning, I'm trying to give to everybody else. The mindset is where it all starts. You know, your conscience always tells you what you need to do to change. When I was a lot heavier, you know, I'd get up in the morning and I'd brush my teeth and I'd look at myself and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You know, you're not happy with the way you look. You have sleep apnea and you wake up in the middle of the night. I'd wake up hungover and I'd tell myself, you need to stop, you need to change your habits. But then I wouldn't, right? I'd always rationalize, well, I'm not going to the bar and drinking, you know, I'm at home. Or, you know, you'll start on Monday, and then Monday comes and you make an excuse and it never happens. So what I do now is just, I read, man. Something that I never used to before was read books about, you know, motivation, understanding yourself. Even like on the ride home, you know, I don't even watch Netflix or YouTube. I really don't even know what's going on in world politics anymore, you know, because I'm constantly listening to an audiobook or, you know, try to do something to make myself more positive, right? Positive mindset, positive self-talk. I think a lot of us, or I know me before, I would look at myself and just kind of accept it, right? Like, you've tried and you failed, and you've tried and you failed. It's just time to accept it. But once you start creating that habit, you know, it just becomes second nature.
All right, there is always a ton to learn from guys like Daniel. Like I said, jump into his full episode because it's an incredible story. Actually, I've had him on the podcast twice. The first one, we share more in-depth of his entire story. And in the second episode with Daniel, we dive into things like mindset, how to get your mind right, and, you know, that sort of stuff. So, like I said, go back and listen to the full episodes with Daniel. You'll love them. Next guy here is Dennis Kelly. I've also had Dennis on the podcast twice. First episode with him was probably a year and a half ago, where he shared his full story. Incredible story as well of becoming a lineman and then an entrepreneur himself. Started a gym, which turned into 2 gyms, which turns into a bunch of other businesses. He's got a lot going on. He's including, he's a Powerline contractor, owner, and operator as well. Now, so tons of stuff in these 2 episodes. They were very well received. So here's a clip from Dennis Kelly. Let's listen to that. But again, go back and listen to the full episodes. You'll get a lot out of them. What's your take on failures?
I mean, I fail plenty of times, but that's part of it. You are not going to be successful without failures. I have failed a million times. I have fallen flat on my face. I've been denied loans. I've been denied credit cards. You know, I've had people steal from me. You're going to have them. But failure is part of it. I failed in everything. That's how all the lessons were learned. You got to take failures and progress with them. You know, that's how, like, all the processes that are in place, whether it be K&R or the fitness centers, were because of failures. Something that we failed at, or somebody screwed us over, some customer screwed us over, some employee screwed us over. There are all these little mini failures that we just learned lessons from.
All right, look, failure is a part of life. And the only thing I really wanted to add to this was consistency is what really matters. Keeping consistency. It's about reps. Alex Hormozy talks about working out. He's like, if you know Alex Hormozy, very famous now, like become TikTok famous or whatever, YouTube famous, but entrepreneur. He's built a lot of companies. He's also a very buff, big dude, thick, works out a lot. He talks about if you came to one of his workout sessions and seen him actually work out, if you've seen him do a couple of reps of a workout, it's pretty mundane. It's not very interesting. You can't really see how is this going to do anything. But over the course of 20 years of doing this, has built the body that he loves. So it's about the reps. It's about consistency. I can say the same thing about Powerline Podcast and starting this. The start was a grind. The podcast was a grind. It's been a grind for 4 years. It's still a grind some days, but it's about that consistency. So yeah, some of you guys are going to recognize this in your lives already. I just want to encourage you to keep going in the thing that you're doing, because consistency is what matters. Don't worry about the small failures. Don't worry about the big failures. A failure is just a way to learn and move on and hopefully crush it next time. Just keep going. Okay, Bo Lindell is a fellow Canadian I've followed on social media for a few years. Finally connected with Bo, had a great conversation with him. Let's listen to this clip and then we'll chat about it in a sec.
We all have mentors, right? Whether they're good or bad, they're always, say apprentices or new guys coming in, they're always looking up to someone. So, I think it's pretty important who you choose who those mentors are. And, your mentor might be really good at work, but a lot of times you got to look at the outside of the work and the after the work thing, because those are kind of the path you're going to follow. So, I think picking your mentors and, really thinking about where you want to go, and because that's going to really affect you down the road.
You are a direct reflection of the 5 closest people in your life. I know you've probably heard this. Here's just another way to look at it. The way to look at this is maybe you need to start making some hard decisions into who those 5 people are. Even if it's your family you're hanging around the most, and even if it's your family and they're bringing you down, or they're not positive, or they're not in the space that you want to, they're not helping you elevate in your life, get better, faster, stronger, smarter, all of those things. They're not helping you excel. Maybe you need to take a good hard look at how much time you're spending with them and start trying to acquire people in your life that can help you move towards some goals, some of your goals, some of those things you've wanted to crush in life. And that's what Bo's talking about. Bo's talking about picking your mentor, and maybe you got to take a good hard look at who those 5 people are in your life. Look at how much time you're spending with them, and maybe make some hard decisions to not spend so much time with some of those people that are bringing you down or keeping you at a level that isn't helping you excel in an upward trajectory. Pay attention to that, and I think you can start to go in a better direction. Terry Bello, again, had the chance to meet him at the International Lineman Rodeo this year. It was the first time. We followed each other a lot on social media. He is a lineman. He was a controlman, hails from New York City, actual New York City proper. Great episode. It was really eye-opening because he said he had a very lengthy career. He's retired now. He actually is a writer, writes for Power Lineman magazine. It was a great conversation. We talked for over 2 hours, I think. Highly suggest you go back and listen to that episode. But let's listen to this clip from Terry, and then we'll chat about it for a second.
I put a picture up on Facebook a couple of months ago where a guy in Pakistan sent me a picture, and they're building out of look like tree limbs, sticks, a little tower to go out and work on the lines in the middle of this flooded plain, But no matter where we are in this world, we're linemen. And we may not speak the same language. We may not eat the same food for lunch. But and we may not work the same voltage classification, but we all do line work.
Okay, so this is really, I'm not going to get into the union, non-union side of things, but this is really one of the benefits of being union is you have this opportunity to work and live basically anywhere in the world. It really gives you an easy portability to go do whatever you wanted to do in the world, go see the world, go work in other places. You can do that through being a IBW union lineman. And I don't want any hate out there from the non-union side. That's not what this is about. Maybe you can also do that on that side, but being a union member really helps ease that, make that transition, make that ability to go other places, do other things a lot easier. And I just encourage you, it's one of the things I've absolutely loved in my career is that I've worked all over Canada, I've worked all over the United States, and I look forward to the future working other parts of the world. So it's this job, naturally, being a lineman has given me that opportunity, and being a union lineman has given me that opportunity as well. So that's what I got to say about that. All right, Dylan Coach, had him on the show a couple times as well. I love talking to Dylan. Dylan comes from the health fitness industry, but not just the health and fitness industry, but really wellness. He works for a company called Working Athlete. Working Athlete makes supplements and actual training programs for us, the worker, the industry, the industrial worker, the lineman. They're really focused on products like hydration products and energy products that are clean, healthy, made with good ingredients. And then they also back it up with the support of training and coaching and teaching. Fantastic conversations with Dylan. He's a smart dude. Highly recommend. I had him on recently where we talked a lot about hydration, heat illness prevention, that sort of stuff. So let's listen to this clip. We'll chat about it a little bit. And let's just jump right into this. Let's talk about heat illness and hydration, how the two work together.
Yeah, so the big problem that everybody's trying to achieve is thermoregulation. Like, we need to make sure that more heat is exiting the body than is entering the body. That's really the main goal. And if you do not achieve that, you will progress through the stages of heat illness. So we can achieve that ways, but there's a lot of contributing factors here. There's external, there's internal factors. But then, you have, as far as external factors to heat illness, it would be heat index, right? What's the total temperature and the humidity? Let's find out our heat index. Let's look at wind. Let's look at the UV. Let's look at, do we have shade available at our job site? Or we have zero shade? Or do we need to bring a tent? Those are the engineering controls that we could improve. But those would be external factors. Internal would be things like your age, your gender, your fitness level, personal medications, personal health issues, and that kind of stuff. And that's where ownership kind of comes into this. Like, we can lead the horse to water, right? But we cannot make you. And that's one of those things where you have to take some ownership and understand, hey, I've got to check myself. I've got to check myself and be honest with myself as far as, okay, I had 7 drinks last night. I went to sleep without drinking any water. I woke up, I didn't take care of myself. Now I've got this big task for the day. And you know what? I'm probably a dangerous employee to myself and to my brothers if I don't get my shit together, right? And it's one of those things where that ownership is extremely key when you're looking at heat illness, because it's completely preventable. If you do the things that you need to do and you take the steps that you need to take, we can prevent them. But continually, year after year, tens and tens of people die, over tens of thousands go through heat illness stages. But the contributing factors is one of the things that we really focus on. And then, ultimately administrative and engineering controls is very impactful as well. And that's things like start time, which, in the lineman world, you work when you have to work. It is what it is. But paying attention, in different trades or industries, it's start time, trying not to work during the hottest part of the day. Having potable water close in proximity, that's the key thing, has to be close. I shouldn't have to question whether or not I want to walk over to my water or drink. It's too far. If that thought, you're too late, because most people are going to say, no, I only got a little bit left. So potable water in proximity is very key. Obviously, rest time is extremely important. Finding a shaded area and cooling off for a second, because we just don't want that internal body temperature rising too quickly. If we don't keep it under control, we can progress through those stages of heat illness extremely quick. So from working athletes kind of mission and kind of strategy, what we're doing in the industry is, we've now developed, with one of our partners, continued education around the science of the symptoms of heat illness. We like to connect the dots on why, because if you don't know why, it doesn't mean jack squat to me. It's just another OSHA heat illness training. But if I give you a why and I can motivate you in some other way, then there could be change. That now we have a foundation for change. But if it's not, it's just in one ear, out the other. So we've changed our language in training to try and connect those dots and offer continued education platforms and learning management systems to our clients and customers, large utilities, contractors, to make the employees aware, because without that, change can definitely not happen. If they're not aware of the problem or the benefits or the why, doesn't mean jack squat. So we offer the education for the field level, and then we offer train the trainer training for management, supervisor level, so they can communicate down field level in the right way. So those are all changes that really are OSHA standard driven. We're seeing a big change around heat illness, and within the coming years, I do believe that there will be a lot more things around heat illness as far as standards, and it won't just be suggestions.
Yeah,
they're going to be standardized rules.
So fortunately, this is becoming a more talked about subject. This subject around heat illness and heat illness prevention and that sort of stuff. Dylan does a great job of talking about it, so I'm just going to leave that to him. I again suggest you listen to the whole episode for a lot more context around this and what companies like Working Athlete are doing, companies like Quanta Services are doing to help us as linemen, to help us prevent heat illness, dehydration, those sorts of things, mental fatigue. I got a quick story about heat stroke and how quick it can sneak up on you. I did this job a few years ago. It was just a little side job. It was a free gig. I was donating my time. And the job was, I loaded up 25-foot poles. So I think it was something like 20, 25-foot meter poles. I loaded them onto a truck and trailer. I had a crane truck, big crane truck, attached this trailer, loaded them on trailer, and I drove them. It was probably about a 2.5, 3 hour drive way off into the wilderness, and it was a wilderness camp that wanted these poles to build a climbing wall for the kids at the camp. So again, since it was all donated, it was just me. There's some people out there to help me stand the poles up and dig the holes and all that sort of stuff. But it was really up to me to get everything organized, get everything loaded, get all out there. So I finally got out to the job site, and to get this all done, get 25 poles or 20 poles set in a day, I had to really crank the heat up, go, 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 meaning, and it was middle of summer. It wasn't incredibly hot, but it was middle of summer, and I just busted my ass all day long, took barely any breaks. But you can see how this is very relatable to what we do. We got a job to get done. We're going to get out there and do it. There's usually a time crunch. We need to be productive. We need to get this thing done in a certain amount of time. So we go. And we ignore things like how much water we're drinking. Are we staying cool and shaded? You know, are we taking breaks? Are we resting? Those sorts of things and how important they are. Well, I got everything loaded at the truck at the end of the day. I got everything set, all the poles set, got everything loaded back on the truck. And I started heading back to town. And I started to feel really, really unwell. I was hot. I had the air conditioning blowing as much as I could, but it was an old Kenworth, so it didn't really work very well. So windows down, and I ended up just throwing up everywhere. I limped this truck back to town, parked it in front of my house, and for the next week and a half, I'd never been so sick in my whole life. Very, very close to a trauma incident. I had heat stroke, and it's just a great example of how quick it can sneak up on you and how much you need to pay attention to these things. You can only tough out so much. You can only tough it out so much. I know you're a big badass lineman, but you can't escape heat illness. It's just not possible. So look after yourself, watch out for yourself, stay hydrated, stay focused. Great episode was Dylan's episode. And yeah, another topic that we need to talk about more. So stay safe out there, guys. All right, guys, that wraps up this episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this, taking a clip from each one of these guests we've had on the show. I hope this has introduced you to this guest and maybe given you some more insight, some value. I kind of like doing this. So if you like seeing this, if you want more of these kind of episodes just sprinkled in there every so often, maybe we go 5 to 10 guests and then just do like a bit of a recap. If you like this sort of thing, leave me a comment, shoot me a DM, post it on Instagram, something like that, and I'll do more of these for you. All right, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, please leave me a like, a follow, subscribe, all those good things. Love you, appreciate you. We're growing this channel like crazy. I think we're up 300 and some subs already, and it's only been like 2 weeks. So love you guys. Stay safe out there. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.